The key turned smoothly in the lock, and I stepped into my dream, a cozy villa nestled in the Swiss Alps, surrounded by snow-capped peaks and pine forests that seemed to touch the sky. At 72 years old, I'd finally done it. After 40 years of working double shifts at the factory, saving every spare franc, I'd bought my retirement sanctuary. This was mine, all mine. Or so I thought. I'm Heinrich Müller, though most folks call me Hank. I'd raised 3 boys after my wife Clara passed 20 years ago, worked my fingers to the bone to give them good lives, and never once asked for anything in return. Now, with my savings and a modest pension, I'd purchased this little piece of heaven to live out my golden years in peace. The villa wasn't grand, just 2 bedrooms, a kitchen with mountain views, and a living room with a stone fireplace that crackled with promise. But it was perfect for a solitary old man who wanted to read, hike, and finally learn to paint those mountains that had captivated him since childhood. I'd been there exactly 3 days when I heard the car pull up. Looking out the window, I recognized my youngest son Thomas's Mercedes SUV. My heart lifted. Perhaps he'd come to visit, to see the place I'd told him so much about. Then the passenger door opened, and out stepped my daughter-in-law, Gabrielle. Gabrielle wasn't a bad person, not really, but she had what Clara used to call champagne tastes on a beer budget, always eyeing what others had, always calculating. She'd married Thomas 5 years ago, and I'd watched as she'd slowly isolated him from family gatherings, always having some excuse why they couldn't attend. Behind them, a moving truck pulled up. My blood ran cold. I rushed to the door just as Gabrielle reached it, her manicured hand already reaching for the handle, with a key I definitely hadn't given her. "Surprise, Papa Hank," she sang out, her smile bright but not reaching her eyes. "We're moving in." "Excuse me," I managed to choke out, looking past her to Thomas, who couldn't meet my gaze. "Oh, didn't Thomas tell you? We discussed it at Christmas, remember? You mentioned this villa had 2 bedrooms, and we thought, what a perfect arrangement. You're getting older, you'll need someone to look after you, and we've been wanting to escape Zurich. It's perfect." I most certainly did not remember any such discussion. What I remembered was mentioning my purchase to the family and Gabrielle's eyes lighting up when I'd mentioned the location, prime Alpine real estate, just an hour from St. Moritz. "Gabrielle, Thomas," I said, keeping my voice steady, "I think there's been a misunderstanding. This is my home. I bought it for my retirement. Alone." Gabrielle laughed, that tinkling sound that set my teeth on edge. "Don't be silly. You can't live alone at your age. What if you fall? What if you have a medical emergency?" She pushed past me into the house, her heels clicking on the wooden floors. "Oh, Thomas, look at this view, and this is so much better than that cramped apartment." "That cramped apartment is twice the size of this villa," I said flatly. She waved her hand dismissively. "But it doesn't have this charm, this location. The 2nd bedroom will be perfect for when we have guests. You won't mind taking the smaller room, will you? You don't need much space." "The smaller room, in my own house." Thomas finally spoke up, his voice weak. "Dad," Gabrielle thought, "we thought you'd be happy for the company, and we can help with expenses." "I don't need help with expenses," I interrupted. "I bought this house outright, with my money I saved for 40 years. Gabrielle was already directing the movers, pointing to where furniture should go. My furniture was being pushed aside to make room for her enormous sectional sofa. "Gabrielle," I said, my voice rising, "stop, this is not happening." She turned to me, and for the first time her mask slipped. Her eyes went cold. "Papa Hank, Thomas is your son. Family takes care of family. Isn't that what you always taught the boys? Surely you don't want to be selfish in your old age. What would people think?" There it was, the manipulation, the guilt, the subtle threat to my reputation and relationship with my son. "Besides," she continued, her voice dropping to a syrupy sweetness, "you're 72. How many years do you really have left to enjoy this place? We are young, we can appreciate it. And when you're gone, it would come to Thomas anyway, wouldn't it?" My hands shook, not from age but from rage. This woman was already planning my funeral and counting my assets. "Actually," I said quietly, It wouldn't. She froze, mid-gesture to a mover. What? I walked to my study, my actual study, which she'd been planning to convert into a walk-in closet based on the conversation I'd just overheard, and pulled out a folder. Inside were documents I'd prepared with my lawyer just yesterday, prompted by an odd feeling I'd had when Gabrielle asked too many questions about the property during our last phone call. I've established a trust, I explained, my voice steady now. This property, upon my death, will be donated to the Alpine Heritage Foundation to be used as a writer's retreat. Thomas and his brothers will each receive equal portions of my remaining estate, but this villa will never be anyone's inheritance. Gabrielle's face went white, then red. You can't do that. I can, and I have. The papers are already filed. Thomas, she shrieked, turning to my son, say something. Thomas looked between us, and for a moment I saw the boy I'd raised, the one who'd helped me plant Clara's memorial garden, who'd laughed at my terrible jokes, who'd once told me I was his hero. Gabrielle, he said softly, maybe we should go. Go? Are you insane? We gave up our apartment. The movers are here. You gave up your apartment without asking me if this was actually happening, I interjected. You assumed, you presumed, you tried to take what wasn't yours. Gabrielle grabbed Thomas's arm. You're choosing him over me, your own wife. I'm choosing what's right, Thomas said, and I heard Clara's moral compass in his words. Dad worked his whole life for this. We have no right to it. But he's old. He'll die soon anyway. The room went silent. Even the movers stopped, shocked by her bald statement. Get out, I said quietly. Get out of my house. This isn't over, Gabrielle hissed. We'll contest the trust. We'll sue for elder abuse. Gabrielle, Thomas's voice was firm now. We're leaving now. What Gabrielle hadn't realized in her schemes was that I'd also installed security cameras before her arrival, another suggestion from my astute lawyer. Every word of her claiming my house, planning my death, and trying to take what was mine was recorded. As they left, Thomas turned back. Dad, I'm sorry. I should have stood up to her from the start. You did stand up, I told him, just in time. After they'd gone, I stood in my villa, surrounded by the half-moved boxes and displaced furniture. Slowly, I began putting everything back where it belonged. 2 weeks later, Thomas called. He'd filed for divorce. Gabrielle, it turned out, had debts he'd known nothing about and had seen my villa as a solution. She'd actually forged the key from a photo I'd once sent Thomas. Can I visit sometime? Thomas asked. Just me. I'd like to help you settle in properly. I'd like that, I told him. Now 6 months later, I wake each morning to Alpine sunshine streaming through my windows. I've taken up painting, poorly but joyfully. Thomas visits monthly, and we've rebuilt what Gabrielle tried to destroy. The villa remains mine, a testament to perseverance, boundaries, and the importance of standing your ground, even at 72. Sometimes, late at night, I think about what would have happened if I hadn't prepared those documents, hadn't installed those cameras, hadn't found my voice when Gabrielle tried to take everything. Then I look at the mountains, eternal and unmovable, and I understand. Some things are worth fighting for, no matter your age. And some people need to learn that not everything can be taken, manipulated, or assumed. My villa taught both of us that lesson. But only one of us was wise enough to learn it.